Welcome everyone to another edition of the John Norman Leadership Podcast, bringing you content on the last Thursday of every month. If this content is helping you in any ways, would you do me a favor? Would you hit subscribe, share it across your platform, your wider circles? And the goal is, as you lift the level of your leadership, others will rise around you. And we are so honored to be joined by a special guest today, Norwich City #1 and Dutch international goalkeeper, Tim Krul. I know he's going to bring a lot of wisdom from his years of experience on and off the pitch as a leader, and it'll help you lift the level of your leadership. Enjoy. Huge welcome to the podcast today, everyone. We are joined by the Norwich City #1 and Dutch international keeper for over 10 years, the one and only Tim Krul, former Newcastle, Ajax, Brighton footballer. And so welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you. Good morning.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. We're in a good place. Obviously, exciting times with Norwich City at the moment being top of the league. So yeah, putting a smile on people's faces, I think, at the moment at home in this difficult time, obviously.
It certainly has. It's a great time to be a Norwich City fan. And I know you're a modest man, but I also want to say well done. You've had an exceptional year and really have lifted the spirits, and it's really helped us in the local community see a way out of this pandemic. If you're listening to this podcast, it is March 2021, and so we are kind of coming out of the pandemic. We've still got a way to go, but I thought it'd be great to talk to Tim around leadership. He's a very experienced leader on and off the field, and just talk to him about what leadership means to him and get some of his insight, glean some wisdom from him. So Tim, once again, thanks for coming on, mate. But I always start with this question when I have guests on the show. What does leadership mean to you on and off the pitch?
I think the most important thing, is showing example. I think as a leader, you need to be the one setting the examples. I think the timekeeping, stuff like that, just being there for the young ones coming through the ranks. And yeah, if you show it day in, day out that you are on top of your game, I think others will follow. I think that's one of the big things, in my opinion.
I love that example. And, you've just mentioned timekeeping, being there for the younger guys. And I've had the privilege watching you train each week for the past 3 seasons as club chaplain, and watch you keep physically fit. But I'm intrigued to know how you keep yourself mentally fit. We live in an age where people are struggling, especially in these intense lockdowns, with their mental health, mental fitness. So how do you personally, maybe give us some keys, how you keep yourself in mentally good shape?
I think the big thing I've learned is try to control the controllables. When I was younger, I was trying to probably help too much and worry about things I couldn't really affect. So while I got older and wiser, I think that was the big thing for me personally, that I can only affect certain elements. I can't run the club. There's other people who are doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, be the best person I can be on and off the pitch. Mentally, you have to switch off, obviously, from football, come home, and lucky enough, I've got a 7-year-old daughter who's amazing and kind of helps me switch off from that side. And yeah, just spend family time. I think that's the big thing, kind of splitting the football life and the home life.
I love what you said there, control the controllables. Often we spend a lot of our time and our negative emotion trying to control the things outside of our control. And I think that's really helpful for us to think about those things on the show today that are out of our control, and try and fix our thoughts and our thinking around the things that we are in control, like our attitude. One thing I've noticed about you, Tim, is you always keep a good attitude. How have you worked on that? Because I wouldn't imagine that happens by default. Imagine that's something you've had to work on over your career.
I think just analyzing other older pros. I was lucky enough when I arrived at Newcastle that I had Shay Given, who I still think is one of the best goalkeepers out there for the club, and if not in football. Pavel Srnicek came back, who was a legend at Newcastle United. And when he came back, he was 39, 40. And the way he was training and conducting himself and keeping himself fit in the gym, doing extra work after training. And that's what I mentioned before about showing the right example. When I seen him do that, when I was 17, 18-year-old, I was like, okay, that's then the norm. If he can do it, then I should definitely do it. I think that was the big thing I've learned early on. Yeah, like you say, stay positive. I think it's sometimes easier said than done. We've all been rejected some way or form. And I think the big thing for me is trying to prove those kind of people wrong who've said you're not good enough, or you got sacked off a job, or whatever happened. To be able to see those kind of people a year later, 2 years later, and to look them in the eyes and just kind of go, you know what, I've changed, or I'm a better person, or I'm proving you wrong. I think that gives me my motivation every day.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said there about how you watch Pavel and you watch Shay Given, but they weren't aware that you were watching them. So it's almost that they were being an example without even realizing it. And sometimes, I know for you watching, we've got a collective group of young keepers coming through, and it's amazing. We've always had good goalkeepers at Norwich, but how your example is helping them when they see you show up on time, when they see you keep a good attitude, I can see that attitude filtering down through them.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, like I learned so much from these guys. Pavel Srničić was my neighbor at the time he came back, and I spent Christmas with him, I remember, and talking about football, and it just, when you're 18-year-old, you don't appreciate, I don't think, the lessons you're getting. But now I'm looking back thinking, you know what, the Shay Givens, the Steve Harpers, the Pavel Srničićs, and all the coaches then who were telling you off or telling you to be better, you weren't really accepting it maybe then, but now you're like, you know what, those extra hours in the gym are, they're paying off in the end.
And little did they know now that their example, their leadership is having an effect on young keepers like Daniel Bard and Archie and all these keepers that are, it's their example that you followed, and now they're following you. So it's almost like a generational thing that gets passed down.
Yeah, I like that. I like that part of it. Obviously, getting more experienced, there's younger players coming through the ranks, and seeing the 18, 19, 20-year-olds coming through and seeing the talent they've got. You don't want them to make the mistakes I've made, and you're trying to guide them, and ultimately they have to do it themselves totally. You can't baby feed them everything, but it is exciting to see the steps the boys are making, and not just the goalies, obviously the Max Aronses, the Jamals, the Ben Tots, even the new generation, the Bali Moombas, the Josh Martins. There's a lot of exciting talent at the club, and it's a perfect place for them to grow, for sure.
I think when anyone says Tim Krul, straight away we think of penalty heroics. 2014, come off the bench, last minute of extra time, say 2 spot kicks, you win 4-3. But as well, most people are aware that in professional sport, especially football, there's low points. How did you can share a low point, but how do you respond to those low points? Because there's a lot of leaders, maybe employers, bosses right now, professionals, and they're feeling low. They've had their careers taken away. Maybe they've been furloughed. Maybe they've been separated from family and friends. They're at a low point. But you've had low points in your career, but it's how you respond to that. Yeah,
totally. And my lowest point was playing for my country, and actually I torn my knee ligament, my ACL.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was crazy because I was on the highest in my career. I was playing every 3 days in the Premier League, playing for your country. And then literally in one of those moments, I was out for 15 months straight. The first 8 weeks after my operation, I was on a machine 10 hours a day, lying on the sofa, and my knee was just kind of moving up and down slowly. And especially for me personally, I'm an active person, to be switched off like that for the first 8 weeks. And again, like I said, it took me more than a year to start believing in my own body again, and having the confidence to go out there and actually perform again. Because every morning I woke up for the first 14, 15 months still with pain in my knee every time I stepped out of my bed, and worrying. And there's been moments that I said to my wife, I said, I don't think this is gonna get better. I was worried that it could have been my career over. So I definitely had moments, dark moments, worrying. And the way I got out of that was just the hunger to that I didn't want that person to be, he had to finish his career on an injury. Kind of just, I was 28 by then as well, far too young to finish the career. And lucky enough, I had my missus and my family around me who kept talking positive. You will come out of it. Time will heal. Just do whatever you can in the training ground to get yourself stronger, and hopefully it will help. But yeah, I have to be honest, I needed people there. I could not just do it alone, for sure. So I think the big thing was to speak about it. Don't be afraid to approach people and share your kind of worries and insecurities. I think in those kind of moments, especially now, I can't even imagine, like you say, about people losing their jobs and the financial worries, the health worries they must have at home, not be able to have their operations, etc. So definitely speak out. There's a lot of charities locally out there. You're doing a great job, and it just, it's definitely keep fighting and like looking at the Corona time at the moment. I've seen this morning there's another 10 million vaccinations, being available for the people really soon. So there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel, but you need to stay positive for sure.
I love what you're saying there. I think that first point about speaking up, how you had to speak up and admit that you were in that dark place, admit that you were not in it, and then you surround yourself with great people. I think that's really great advice for any of our listeners today. You're feeling low, maybe you're laying on your bed, maybe you're struggling physically, mentally, whatever it is, emotionally, but talk to someone, pick up the phone today. You know, this is great advice from Tim today. I know he's a footballer, but let me tell you, he has experienced low moments in his career, in his life. And this is some real gold today. So thanks for that. Now, just kind of switching tack a little bit. Social media, we can't seem to live with it. We can't seem to live without it. How do you handle the pressures of it? I know for me, it's a dilemma. It's a challenge daily. But how do you handle it? I'm sure you've received all sorts of comments. Many would be positive, many maybe not so positive. But how do you handle the pressures of it?
I think it's a great platform to connect with the people who genuinely follow you. I think the fan base, there's lots of people who love the interaction, for sure. But yeah, there's also a dark side to it. I still get daily messages that I'm not good enough, or you should, you're the worst goalkeeper out there, or whatever. And a lot worse I've had. But this is where, unfortunately, you get 100 positive messages and there's one negative, and unfortunately our minds, you remember the negative. And this is where I think the biggest advice, I think, happened at Norwich, where you just kind of have to go, stay humble and ignore the noise. So don't go too high with positive critics, but also don't go too low with these silly people out there behind the screens, who you can't even give them a name, really. I mean, there's so many negative stuff out there, and it's just they're probably 14, 15-year-olds who have fake profiles and try to harm people. And you have to put a shield up, because, like I said, it's, you need to use it for the positives. And lucky enough, I'm getting a lot of positive vibes at Norwich. There's so much amazing fan bases out there, and people trying to help each other.
And rightly so, you deserve them. And these guys as well, there's a lot of effort that goes in there. They're traveling pretty much. I know they've had the midweek game off this week, but it's been back to back for week on week. So well done for all your achievements this season, Tim. Just before we bring this to a close, as a leader on the pitch and in the dressing room, what would you say are 3 qualities that you expect from your teammates?
I think the most important one is the ability to stay calm under whatever circumstance gets thrown at you. I think being a leader, it could be the biggest game of the season, or it could be a relegation battle, or whatever. You need to be ready. Being the confident, like the voice for others as well. I think the big thing is when a young lad coming through, you might not feel confident enough to speak up. And I think as the older ones in the team, I think you've got a responsibility to be there for them. I think those are definitely 2, and give it your all. I think if you leave everything out there on the pitch and in the gym sessions and being that example. I think it's a funny one. Me and my goalie coach always say to each other, the big thing when I play a game and give it your all, and you at night, you can look in the mirror when you come home and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, right, I have to give it my all and I left everything out there. I think that's one of the big things.
I love what you're saying. Just to recap there, you talk about staying calm under pressure. By the way, this isn't just applying to football. This applies to the boardroom. It applies to walking into a situation in work, staying calm under pressure, confidence, believing in yourself. I think that's so true what Tim's saying, that actually having some belief that you can make it, that you can get through, and also looking out for others. 3 great qualities. Thanks, Tim, for that. So yeah, really, thank you. I'm going to throw one last question at you, and then you're going to get back to your day. How have you changed as a leader? So the Tim Krul of your debut at 17, I think it was, but how have you changed now in your senior leadership years?
I think appreciating more what I've got and how privileged I am to be in the position to play this amazing sport and to have it as a job. I think when you're 17, 18, you don't think about those kind of things. But after my injury, for sure, I've totally changed. I'm the way I'm on the pitch now is just more appreciative of everything. And I think the responsibility, of the people at home now, for sure, is more like normally you just kind of, when you're 17, you just play the game and go home and that's it. But the clubs like Newcastle and definitely at Norwich, you see the community, how much it means to them. And I think that responsibility is an amazing one to have and putting smile on the people's faces, for sure.
Brilliant. Tim Krul, we are so grateful to have you on the John Norman Leadership Podcast today. To all our listeners, viewers, I hope you've enjoyed it. And remember, as you lift the level of your leadership, others will rise around you. Appreciate you, Tim Krul. Send him some love on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. And can't wait to see you on the show next time. Take care and God bless.
I'd value your commitment by liking it, sharing it, subscribing to it, commenting on it, and sharing it with your teams. Remember, you are your only limit, and this podcast is to lift the level of your leadership, and as you rise, others will rise around you.